Good day everyone. We are the last group, the group 18, and I'm Princess Nova C. Flor with my partner Vincent Pagtanak. So our topic for today is global citizenship. So what is global citizenship? Global citizenship is the idea that individuals are part of the global community, not just their local or national identity. It possesses responsibilities towards the wider world and acknowledge the interconnectedness of all people regardless of nationality, ethnicity, or culture. Global citizens recognize their rights and duties in a global context, working towards global well-being, social justice, and sustainable development. Next is citizenship. How residents live in a particular area with previously agreed upon rights and responsibilities. So, citizenship is how people live in a specific country or area while following agreed upon rules and laws and responsibilities. And also, citizens have rights like freedom of speech and duties like obeying the law. For example, a person is living in Canada has the right to vote in election and the duty to follow Canadian laws. Next is rights. Any lawful, social, or moral principle of autonomy or entitlement. Rights are freedom or protection that people are legally or morally entitled to. This can include human rights, civil rights, or legal rights. For example, the rights of education means every child has the opportunity to go to school and learn. Duty. An obligation or expectation to perform an action based on the law, social norms, or standard. A duty is something a person is expected or required to do because of laws, social customs, or morals. For example, it is a citizen's duty to pay taxes to help fund public services like roads, schools, and hospitals. Global citizenship, the belief that all people have rights and civic responsibilities based on the reason that they reside in the world. Global citizenship is the idea that all people, no matter where they live, have rights and responsibilities simply because they are part of the world's community. Example, a person volunteering to help with disaster relief in another country is acting as a global citizen. So next is, what is global citizenship? So ano nga ba yung global citizenship? So global citizenship ay ang paniniwala na ang lahat ng tao sa mundo ay may mga karapatan at pananagutan hindi lang sa kanilang bansa, buong daigdig. At ito ay tumutukoy sa paraan ng pamumuhay ng mga tao sa isang particular na lugar kung saan may mga kasunduan tungkol sa kanilang mga karapatan at tungkulin. So ayon kina Abdi, Charles at Pilay 2015, ang mga batas na ito limitado lamang sa isang tiyak na teritoryo o hangganan ng isang bansa. So ibig sabihin, kailangang nauunawaan ng mga mamamayan ang kanilang mga karapatan at responsibilidad bilang bahagi ng isang lipunan. Halimbawa nito, may isang kabataang Pilipino ang sumali sa mga nagtataguyod ng kalinisan sa karagatan kahit ito ay para sa isang bansa. So sa pamamagitan ng pagsuporta sa mga pandaigdigang kampanya tulad ng climate change awareness o pagtulong sa mga biktima ng kalamidad sa ibang bansa, siya ay kumikilos bilang isang citizen. So next is, what is rights o ano ang karapatan? So ang karapatan ay tumutukoy sa mga bagay na legal, moral, or panlipunang dapat tinatamasa ng isang tao. So ito ang base sa batas, kaugalian, o etikal na pamantayan. Sa madaling salita, ito ang mga bagay na dapat ibinibigay o pinahihintulutan sa isang tao o grupo ng tao. Halimbawa nito is yung karapatan ng bawat bata ang makapag-aral. So, ibig sabihin, obligasyon ng lipunan at ng mga gobyerno na bigyan sila ng akses sa edukasyon. Next is the three types of rights. So, first is civil rights. So, civil rights are fundamental freedoms and granted to individuals by law and ensuring equal treatment and the ability to participate fully in society. So there's rights help safeguard personal liberties and prevent discrimination. And one key aspect of civil rights is to free speech, meaning that individuals can express their opinions publicly, even if those opinions criticize the government, as long as they are based on facts and evidence. Civil rights also emphasize the importance of dignity, ensuring that people are treated with respect and fairness in all aspects of life. Example, a person in a democratic society might use their civil rights to free speech by publicly protesting or writing an article criticizing government policies, so as long as they are providing factual and not inciting violence, they are exercising their civil rights without fear and government retaliation. Similarly, the rights to dignity ensures that all individuals, regardless of background, are treated with respect in workplaces, schools, and other public spaces. Next is political rights. Political rights are the entitlements that allow individuals to participate in the governance and political process of their country. These rights enable citizens to engage directly in shaping the government, such as by voting, running for office, and influencing public policies. And also, political rights empower individuals to be active members of a democracy, allowing them to political office or challenge the status through electoral means. These rights often come with certain criteria such as age, citizenship, and sometimes residency or educational requirements. Example, in many countries, a citizen who meets the necessary criteria, such as being of a certain age or not having a criminal record, has the right to run for public office. For instance, a person who is 30 years old, a citizen of the country, and has lived there for a set number of years, could run for the office of a mayor or a member of parliament. Through these rights, citizens have the opportunity to contribute to their community's governance by representing their interests and shaping policies. Next is the third one, social rights. Social rights are a category of rights that focus on access to public services and social protections such as insurance, health care, welfare, housing, and pensions. These rights are designed to ensure that individuals can meet their basic needs and live with dignity even in challenging circumstances. They are often seen as a part of a broader social contract where the state provides a safety net to its citizens, ensuring that no one falls below a certain standard of living due to factors like illness, unemployment, or old age. So, example social rights is young health care. So, healthcare in many countries, citizens have the social rights to access healthcare services, meaning they are entitled to receive medical care regardless of their ability to pay. For instance, in the UK, the National Healthcare Service or NHS provides free healthcare at the point of delivery, ensuring that all residents have access to essential medical services. Next is what is duty. So as for the concept of duty, it refers to an obligation or responsibility responsibility that someone has, often shaped by law, social expectation, or moral principles. The term comes from the French word "dut," which means owe, implying that a person has responsibility to act in a particular way, either out or legal requirements, societal norms, or personal ethics. So, example of duty is yung legal duty and moral duty. Legal duty, a driver has a duty to obey traffic laws such as stopping at a red light. If they fail to do so, they may face legal consequences because they have a responsibility to drive safely and within the rules set by society. So for moral duty, helping a neighbor or need, like offering assistance if they are struggling to carry groceries, can be seen as a moral duty, an expectation grounded in the value of kindness and community. So in both cases, duty represents an expectation to act in a way that aligns with legal, societal, or ethical standards. So next is the three types of duties. First is conscription. So ito ay ang obligasyon ng bawat malusog na mamamayan na magparehistro bilang reserba ng hukbong sandatahan. Kapag may digmaan, inaasahan silang ipagtanggol. So halimbawa nito, kapag may banta ng giyera, maaring tawagin ng mga reserbang sundalo upang lumaban para sa bayan or sa bansa. Next is taxation. Taxation is, ito ay tungkulin ng bawat mamamayan na magbayad ng buwis sa pamahalaan. Buwis ang ginagamit upang pundahan ang mga serbisyo tulad ng edukasyon, kalusugan, at ang infrastruktura. Halimbawa, ang pagbabayad ng buwis sa kita o kada buwan mula sa sahod ng isang manggagawa. Next is yung participation. So, participation, ito ang tungkulin ng bawat mamamayan na makilahok sa mga gawain at pag-unlad ng komunidad. So, yung halimbawa nito is yung pagdalo ng tao sa barangay meetings or sa pagtulong sa mga clean-up drive sa lugar or sa may ating barangay. So, next reporter po is Vincent Pagtanak.
Good day everyone, my name is Vincent Pagtanak and I'm the second reporter, and my first topic is what does global stand for in global citizenship. So, ano nga ba yung global para sa global citizenship? Ito ay ang ideya na ang pagkakakilanlan ng isang tao o higit pa sa kanilang mga bansa. Ibig sabihin ay lahat tayo ay may responsibilidad na karapatan sa ating komunidad o bansa. Saan man tayo nakatira, hinikayat rin tayo ng global citizenship o ini-encourage na unawain at galangin ang ibang bansa sa kanilang mga kultura. Then next naman po is yung what is global citizenship. So ano nga ba yung global citizenship? So pag sinabi natin global or globalization, tinutukoy nito yung kabuuan o buong mundo. So pag sinabi naman natin citizenship, ito ay tumutukoy sa pagiging kasapi o miyembro ng isang bansa o estado. Kapag tayo ay may citizenship, ibig sabihin kinikilala tayo bilang mamamayan ng isang bansa. Meron tayong karapatang tulad ng karapatang bumoto, magtrabaho, at protektahan ng batas. Next naman po is yung 3 categories of global citizenship. So first is open global citizenship. Naniniwala ang mga bansa na umiiral pa rin at may pagkakaiba't iba sa isa't isa. Kinikilala rin ito ang pagtutulungan sa pagitan ng ibang mga bansa at pagkakaiba ng mga kultura. Then yung pangalawa naman po is moral global citizenship. So ang moral global citizenship naman ay nakatuon lang sa paggawa ng batas at tama. Binibigyan din ang mga karapatang pantao, pagkakapantay-pantay ng bawat isa. Pangatlo naman is socio-political global citizenship. Dito naman hinikayat ang mga tao na maging aktibo sa paglutas ng mga pandaigdigang problema, panlipunan at politika, tulad ng hindi pagkapantay-pantay o kawalan ng karapatan. Nakatuon ang socio-political global citizenship sa sistema at pamahalaan sa buong mundo. Then next topic naman is why global citizenship. Ang ideya ng pandaigdigang pagkakamayan ay malapit na naugnay sa 2030 agenda ng UN or United Nations para sa Sustainable Development na kinabibilangan nito bilang isang pangunahing diskarte upang makamit ang Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs kung papaikliin. Noong 2015 naman ay mahigpit na nireklamo ng isang ulat ng kalihim general ng UN or United Nations ang paggamit ng pandaigdigang edukasyon sa pagkamamayan upang matulungan sa pagbuo ng isang mas mapayapang mundo. Ipinapakita nito kung paano malawak na ikinakalat at suportahan ang pandaigdigang pagkamamayan ng mga pangunahing international na organisasyon. Then next naman po is learning to live together. So isa sa pinakamalagang principle is yung malaman natin kung paano mamuhay ng kasama ang iba. So isa sa kagandahan ng may dudulit nito is yung meron tayong kapayapaan, wala tayong kaaway, walang karahasan at paggalang sa isa't isa. Kinakailangan rin meron tayong respeto. Then next naman po is restore dignity or sa Tagalog, ibalik ang dignidad. Binigyan din ni Paulo Freire noong 1970 ang kahalagahan ng pag-educate sa mga tao tungkol sa kanilang mga karapatan bilang mamamayan upang kanilang mapuno at maitanong sa mga natagong sistema paniil sa kanilang paligid ang edukasyon sa pandaigdigang pagkamamayan. Global Citizenship Education o GCE ay hindi lamang tungkol sa pag-unawa sa kasalukuyang mga sistema kundi pati na rin sa mga konsepto ng pandaigdigang katarungan, panlipunan at mga batayang karapatang pangtao. Then next naman po is yung mga issues sa global citizenship. So isa sa mga pangunahing issue is yung tunggalian sa pagitan ng pandaigdigan at pambansang pagkamamayan. Bagamat hinikayat ang pagiging pandaigdigang mamamayan sa realidad, ang mga tao ay namumuhay sa sarili nilang kultura, batas at pambansang konteksto. Malinaw na lalo na sa mga bansang may mataas na antas ng immigration kung saan madalas na nagkakasalungutan ang pambansang identidad at patakaran sa mga pandaigdigang prinsipyo. Isa rin sa mga issue is yung performative aspect of citizen dahil ito ay saklaw hindi lamang ang mga karapatan at tungkulin na isasagawa kundi pati na rin ang mga hindi naibibigay o sadyang ipinagkait, halimbawa kung hindi pinapayagan ng isang estado ang kalayaan sa pamamahayag, paano isa sa katuparan ang pandaigdigang karapatan sa malayang pananalita. Next naman po is who is active citizen. Ang salitang active citizen ay komplikado, kahulugan sa isang banda ito ay tumutukoy sa mabuting mamamayan na sumusunod sa mga panlipunang alituntunin. Sa kabilang banda, maaari rin itong tumukoy sa masamang mamamayan na nagtatanong, kumukontra at lumalabag sa mga normang iyon. Kaya't lumilitaw ang tanong na ginagamit ba ang konsepto ng aktibong pagkamamayan upang matahimik ang pagtutol at panatilihin ang kasalukuyang kalagayan. Yun lang po. Thank you.